Oftentimes, a dungeon master comes to the table with thoughts of world. What world do I want to run my games in? Forgotten Realms, Eberron, some sort of fan-created conversion of Greyhawk or Dark Sun. See, a world tells us many things that we absolutely need to know before starting any game, adventure, or campaign. The world tells us what the story will look and feel like. Is it high magic as with Eberron? Is there an Underdark and all the drow houses associated with the Forgotten Realms? The world will range from informing us about the big things, such as how it began, or who, or what the Pantheon is based around, all the way down to the details that matter for players, such as what races can be played. Obviously, knowing your world is important, but I dare say that it is secondary to getting something small to the table that will enable you and your group to get through a fun night of gameplay. The world matters, but in the beginning, whether for a one-off session, a few nights of gameplay and adventure, or even as the start of a campaign, think much, much smaller. Similar to how I found that success can come about when you shrink your dreams, allowing for a day-to-day production focus, a successful game, whether a few sessions or a year-long campaign, will often come about when you stack solid nights of 5-hour sessions upon one another. In that, I'd like to offer a few more words as to how one might go about doing such a thing, how you might go about planning an amazing story, in however long it takes to tell it, through small chunks of a few hours of good bits. Number 1. Start in a small place, with very few people. You might begin the story in the bottom of a dungeon, where you put it upon the PCs to find an escape route. You might begin in a small hamlet, with no more than a dozen folk, not including the PCs. Keeping it small allows the PCs to remain the center of attention. While the story may eventually lead to Waterdeep, beginning the journey there can make things feel overwhelming and diminish the actions of the players. Number 2. Create no more than half a dozen problems that the PCs can look into, but ensure that you have multiple problems. Some of them can be informed by the choices your players made during character creation, such as a barbarian clan that needs to be removed from a region, and you mention that the clan is an old rival to a barbarian PC's clan. Multiple problems allows the group to decide on what to do, first based upon their capabilities, time constraints, or quite simply preference. This can even tie into real-world influence. If the actual players are feeling a bit sluggish, and a player or two is sick, then perhaps a bit of a slow roll into a combat situation is better than an all-out political and social situation requiring lots of talking and energy. Choices ask questions, and you allow the players to find the answers. In this, they build confidence that this story will be about them, not you and not the world. Number 3. Don't be a slave to the rules. Dare I say to throw the player's handbook away, or at the very least, don't reference it during the game. There's nothing wrong with having a rules lawyer at the table, or you as the DM investing hours prior to the game brushing up on rules, but once the game begins, let it slide. The rule of cool overshadows all, and in that, players are free to mess things up and get it all wrong. Let them explore, as if you've kept things small, they are still feeling out the world and learning what their characters can and can't do. This point really shines when you have a group of players that don't know each other very well. Or perhaps you're the odd man out, the one that is testing the waters. By not committing so heavily into the world, you could potentially move the story from high magic Eberron into an apocalyptic wasteland that feels more like Dark Sun. This can be explained through culture and regional differences among people and nations, rather than a blanket statement in the beginning declaring that we are playing in World X. There could be more points to this, but that would take away from the goal of this video, which is to indicate that you should keep things very, very small, at least at first. In the art world, you have a canvas and an idea. Learn to grab a single tool, whether an ink brush, a piece of charcoal, or a single brush in Photoshop, and practice with that until the shape is right, until the gesture, form, and anatomy is right. When it is, then you can build upon it by adding details in all the colors. If you go about it in the reverse way, you'll have a muddled mess of color that just doesn't look and feel quite right. Thanks everyone for watching, and take care.